Hey guys, back again with another video, another games I've been playing recently episode. I feel like I've done a lot of these videos lately, but I've been playing a lot of games and I don't really have the time to do a review for every single game I've finished or am playing. But yeah, basically what I've been playing recently. Definitely let me know what you guys have been playing, what you guys have been enjoying, what games you're interested in the future. The first game here is Castlevania Rondo of Blood, and I've been in the mood for retro games for quite a while now. I don't know what it is. For some strange reason, I've been really feeling like going back and playing some old school games and really getting my ass handed to me. And I decided, you know what, the old school Castlevania games, I haven't actually delved too much into them. I'm a pretty big fan of the RPG Castlevanias, like the Metroidvanias, you know, starting with Symphony of the Night, which is my favorite game in the series. But I haven't really played too many of the old school ones. I've played a little bit of Castlevanias 1 through 3, but I didn't grow up with them. I owned an NES, but I didn't have any of the games. And for the Super Nintendo, I never played Castlevania 4. And I played that one actually fairly recently, and it's actually made my top 20 Super Nintendo games. I really enjoyed that one. But there was also another game on the Super Nintendo called Dracula X, and that game it's a weird game because it's sort of a remake, a reimagining of this game, Rondo of Blood, but it's very different, and it gets a lot of hate. A lot of people don't like it. It's considered far inferior to this game. And oddly enough, even though it's like not considered to be one of the better Castlevanias, it's very expensive on the Super Nintendo. If you want to get a cartridge of that game, you have to pay like $200 plus, which is pretty ridiculous. But Rondo of Blood, this game originally came out on the PC Engine in Japan, and it didn't actually come out in North America. We didn't get it, so we didn't get this game until way later on the PSP. I think the PSP is when it first came out with a remake. And this is the version I played. Of course, the gameplay you're seeing here is of the original Turbo PC Engine game. And you can unlock this version of the game on this PSP remake. And the PSP remake is in 3D, an updated soundtrack. There's a few added features. I think there's like a few different new levels. There's cutscenes added to the game. And this version of the game is called Dracula X Chronicles. You can also unlock a version of Symphony of the Night, like the original PS1 version of that game. Now, unfortunately, I would say if you want to play Castlevania Rondo of Blood, which is actually considered to be one of the best old-school Castlevanias, a lot of people think it is the best, and it's like the peak of those really, hardcore Castlevania games. Now, I would actually recommend playing the PC Engine game. And unfortunately, you have to unlock it in this remake, and it's actually a pain in the ass to unlock. You have to get very far in the game, and it's hidden really well. I had to basically use the internet to figure out where to get it. And when you finally do unlock it, it's in a very small box. It doesn't take up the entire Vita screen or PSP screen. You can get the Chronicles X on the Vita if you want. And it's kind of hard to see. You really have to squint to really make out all the details. And this game, you can actually play this in North America on the Virtual Console, the Japanese version, which is the gameplay. The gameplay you're seeing here is not me playing, and this is that Wii Virtual Console version. And so you can get that, and you can actually play it on your Wii U as well. You can go into the Wii mode. And then get it on the eShop there. And if you want to play Castlevania Rondo of Blood, that's the way I would recommend playing it, because unlocking it in the Dracula X Chronicles is really annoying, and it's such a small screen that you're playing on that it's not. I don't know. I would much rather play this game on the big screen. And the remake itself, honestly, I don't think it's very good. It uses these PSP 3D graphics, and they look ugly. The game just does not look good. It looks really like all the colors are very washed out. Everything's really dark and dull looking. And the PC Engine version, I mean, the colors are just pop here, and it's got this gorgeous 2D art. And to see it just translated into this ugly 3D, it really sucks. The soundtrack is pretty good in the remake, but it's still better in this original version, I think. The soundtrack in this game is incredible. But the game itself, I really like it. It's hard as hell. I'm really bad at these old Castlevania games, and this game is no exception. You play as Richter, and like with a lot of these old school Castlevania games, you don't, the jumping is kind of stiff. You can't move and attack at the same time. The attacking animations are very slow. You really have to take into account how you're going to be moving throughout the game and how you're going to pull off your attacks. Everything has kind of like a stiff feeling to it, and that's always kind of been an intentional design with these games. And the level design takes that into account, so the game never really feels cheap or unfair. There are a few times where, like, the bosses, when you kill them, they'll do these attacks, like these last breath attacks, and if you're not prepared for them on your first playthrough, those might actually catch you off guard and kill you, which that's pretty unfair. But the level design overall, it's good. I really like it. The levels aren't as hard as the bosses. The bosses are extremely difficult in this game. You really have to study their patterns, and this game is going to take a lot of trial and error and memorization. It definitely took me a lot of trial and error and memorization. I actually only finished it with Maria, though. There's actually another playable character, Maria, and she is so much better than Richter. It's ridiculous. She's actually fairly easy to unlock too, but she's got a double jump, she moves faster, she can attack and move at the same time. Her main attack is ranged and much quicker, so you can attack enemies in hard to get to spots. And her attacks just are insanely powerful, her item-based attacks. So it honestly makes the game a hell of a lot easier, especially the levels. Not to say the game's like too easy with Maria. The bosses still gave me a lot of trouble. There was a boss gauntlet towards the end of the game that just, oh my god, it took me forever to get through it. Even with Maria, it was very difficult. Richter, I'm still trying to get through the game. It's hard, man. With Richter, this game's tough because you only got your whip attack, and unlike Castlevania 4 on the Super Nintendo, you can't whip in all different kind of directions. The recovery time, I feel, is less forgiving in this game compared to Castlevania 4. You have item crashes in this game, which are pretty helpful, where if you press select when you have one of your items and you have at least, what is it, like 15 or 20 hearts, you can do like this crazy powerful move depending on what item you have, and that's pretty powerful against the bosses. I would definitely recommend using those. One of the things I like with this Castlevania game over previous ones, like the old school ones, is the save system. This game actually has a fucking lenient save system where after every level, it will save the game. And if you lose all your lives at like stage 1, you will have to start the entire level over again. But you can basically choose any level you want to play. If you've unlocked previous levels, you can play them whenever you want, and it saves after each stage. So there's no passwords here, and there's no starting the game over if you get a game over. I really appreciate that, because one of the reasons why I find it hard to get into old Castlevania games are the password systems that you have to use. And I think the original Castlevania, you have to beat that game in one sitting, which is ridiculous. I just, no one has the time or patience for that anymore, or at least I certainly don't. But yeah, this game I really enjoy it. I'd say it's probably my favorite of the old school Castlevania games. I still prefer the RPG ones. I think they're a little too, these old Castlevania games, they're a little too difficult for me to truly get into them. And I think I might like them more if I had grown up with the series, but unfortunately I didn't. But if you're looking for something a little old school, something to really challenge you, I think this will fit the bill, and it's pretty cheap. The Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles on PSP is pretty cheap, and you get Symphony of the Night there too, which is pretty cool. But if you want to play this game, I would recommend the Wii Virtual Console version. I think that's where this game is at its best. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'll try to get it finished with Richter. I don't know. The game's so fucking hard, which I've heard a lot of people say it's actually super easy compared to the NES ones, but I still really struggled. But yeah, I definitely enjoying this one. And the next game is Yakuza 5 for the PS3, and this is actually on PlayStation Plus. I think you can still get it at this time. I think it's one of the September games, and I would highly recommend getting it. Unfortunately, I think it takes up a lot of space on the PS3, so you have to have you have to have a lot of storage on your PS3 to actually fit it on there. But yeah, the Yakuza series, I'm a pretty big fan of it. I really loved Yakuza 4, and I feel like this is one of those series that gets better with every entry. And I heard great things about Yakuza 5 when it came out. Everybody loved this game. It got great reviews. We've got Yakuza 0 coming out soon. I think it was in January. And we're actually getting a physical copy of that. Unfortunately, Yakuza 5, there was no physical copy. And I don't know, with this game being on PS Plus, I figured it's finally the time to jump in. And I like this game. First off, I'm going to say I like this game. I am enjoying it, but I think I'm actually going to put it down for a while. And it's not really the game's fault. It's more that I'm just not in the mood for another Yakuza game. I feel like I played Yakuza 4 not too long ago. It really wasn't that long ago. It was probably only a year ago at this point. And, you know, playing this game, I don't know. I was enjoying it, but I wasn't like loving it. I wasn't. It kind of felt like me going through the motions. And I looked up howlongtobeat.com to see how long this game was. Now, Yakuza 4 was like 25 hours, which I thought was a perfect length. I thought that game was getting a little repetitive and old by the end, but it was just the right length for me. And I looked at howlongtobeat.com, and Yakuza 5 is over 50 hours long. That's the average play time, and that to me is ridiculous for a game of this for this kind of game. When I saw that it was 50 hours, I was like, you know what, I just don't have the time. I just don't have that amount of time to put into this game, and I think I'd rather be playing some shorter games. And yeah, so I've dropped it for now. I am going to come back to it, especially before Yakuza 0 comes out, although I'm starting to think Yakuza is one of those series that I can get away with skipping every other entry, kind of similar to like the Monster Hunter games. But, I mean, from what I played, the game is really enjoyable. It's still got that charm and humor and, like, over-the-top style that previous games in the series have had. The battle system is still a ton of fun. Like, it's super brutal, it's super visceral, and it's pretty hilarious, too, like, some of the moves you can pull off in this game. And, you know, the side activities, there's so many side activities to do. There's some really hilarious ones. The Revelations aspect of this game is still fucking hilarious. I really love those, and you don't have to do those like, well, whatever. They're still really fun. The combat was really what was keeping me going here, but the story, I gotta say, the story wasn't doing much for me. I was kind of bored, honestly. Like, I was actually tempted to kind of skip through dialogue. Like, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just was not interested in the story. And I don't think the Yakuza series has ever had, like, amazing storylines, but they're pretty cheesy and they're goofy. And I think they can be a lot of fun. Yakuza 4 had all, like, these different crazy twists. And Yakuza 5, from what I've played so far, and I've put about 12 hours into it, it's very serious. It's a very serious storyline. There has been a few parts where I'm just like, okay, that's like super over the top and goofy, and you have those sections where you like burst into like a hideout and you're taking down all these enemies, and it's just crazy, like over the top action. But yeah, I don't know, the story just for whatever reason it's just not doing it for me. And I think that's a significant factor as to why I'm probably going to be dropping this game. And compared to Yakuza 4, it's not like a huge step up. I mean, the combat is a little better. There's more activities. There's more things to do. Like with Yakuza 4, there's multiple characters this time around. And there's different parts of the city you'll be exploring. Like, it's not just one small section of a city. You have like these like they're small areas, but you have a different amount of them. So that's cool. It's a far bigger game than Yakuza 4. I mean, the amount of content here is absolutely insane. If you wanted to 100% this game, oh man, like that would just take forever. But yeah, Yakuza still remains an interesting series to me. It's weird. I almost consider them like JRPGs because you have like your random encounters kind of with like the enemies roaming the streets, and they'll come up to you, and then you'll get into a fight. You'll level up, you get new abilities, and kind of earn new abilities. So I don't know. I've always actually they're almost like JRPGs, really. If you really think about it, they really are in a lot of ways. One interesting thing with this game are like the taxi mini games. Yeah, there isn't actually any driving in this game. Like you're not driving from place to place, but you can do a taxi mini game where you actually have to follow the rules of the road, and you have to talk to your passengers. You can't make sudden stops. You have to obey the traffic laws and the traffic lights. It's pretty hilarious. It's actually pretty stressful. But I actually really enjoy that mini game. It's something you don't see too often in open world games. So I actually enjoyed that quite a bit. But yeah, I mean the game is enjoyable. I think it's a good game. I'm just not in the mood for it right now, and there's other games I'd rather be playing. But I am glad I bought it. I bought this way back when it came out because I do like to support this series, and it is one of those series that I hope gets more fans. And I would recommend this actually to people that haven't played the series before. I don't think you really need to know all the events that happened in previous games. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Yakuza 4 is actually a better recommendation because that's a prequel to the entire series. So if you're actually interested in Yakuza, I mean, it is a free game on PS Plus, so you might as well try it. But I'd say if you do want to get into the series, you haven't played them before, I'd say maybe wait until Yakuza 0 comes out because the mechanics are going to be more refined in that one. I hope that game's not like a 50-hour game like this one is, though. I don't know, 50 hours is just too much. It's just too much for me personally, but maybe that's a good point for some people. But yeah, Yakuza 5, 12 hours in. Unfortunately, I am going to be dropping it, but not for the usual reasons. I mean, and this is why I haven't done it like a review or impressions video. It's that weird kind of situation where I'm dropping it, but I do like the game. I definitely don't like dislike it or anything. But yeah, Yakuza 5. And the next game, a game I'm playing right now, is Kirby Planet Robobot. I keep calling it Project Robobot for some reason. And this game, I'm at World 2 right now, and I'm loving this game. I bought it because I haven't played a Kirby game in a long time, and I really do enjoy this series. And the addition of mechs, like ride armor, basically, to this game made me want to actually go out and play this, and it got great reviews. And you know what? This might be the best Kirby game I've played, and I haven't even finished it yet. Kirby Superstar has been my favorite up until now, but this is fantastic. This game is so much fun to play. The level design in this game is actually really fucking good. It makes amazing use of the 3D and background and foreground, where you'll have enemies kind of attacking from the background into the foreground. And there's like this one gimmick in one of these levels where you have like these enemies in cars driving down these streets from like the background to the foreground, and you have like these traffic lights to kind of show you when they're going to be coming in. And if they hit Kirby, Kirby just like flies right in front of the screen, and it's like this cool effect if you have the 3D on. And the mechs are really fun to use too. You get in these mechs and you can still get like your abilities and transfer them to the mech. So you get like a sword ride armor, an umbrella ride armor, and it's just fun experimenting and seeing all the different ride armors. I mean, the game so far is not challenging. Like with a lot of Kirby's, it's not super difficult. It might be if you want to get all the collectibles. And you'll get like these cubes throughout the levels that kind of unlock like these remixed stages of the worlds you're going through, but we'll see if it gets more challenging later. I'm not sure. Some of the other Kirby games I do remember them getting fairly challenging by the end. Like nothing too crazy, but the game is still super enjoyable. The music is awesome. Like I'm actually pleasantly surprised by how good the music is in this game. Like it's really strong. Visuals, I love the visuals. It's super colorful. The environments are great. There's a lot of variety in the environments so far. I like a lot of the enemy designs. It controls well. There's even a couple mini games too, other than like the story mode. There's like this Kirby 3D Rumble, I think it's called, where you're like roaming around a 3D environment and sucking up the enemies and shooting them at others. And then you have like kind of like a battle mode where you're fighting bosses, and you can actually do, I think, multiplayer. You can play with your friends. So that adds some extra content to the game. I'm having a blast with this. I am actually kind of blown away by how much I'm enjoying this. Even though when I saw gameplay of this, I knew I would like it. So yeah, I think this might end up being one of my favorite games on the 3DS by the time I'm done with it. And I've heard Kirby Triple Deluxe is really good too, and has a lot of like the cool 3D effects and like the background and foreground type level design. But I'm really impressed with what I've played so far here. So yeah, kind of a short part. There's not too much to say. I mean, it is a Kirby game. If you've played one, you've kind of know what to expect here. But as far as this series goes, I mean, I think this is probably one of the best entries. It's interesting because like the Kirby games, they just seem to get better and better. Unlike a lot of series that just kind of start to go downhill. Kirby is staying strong. They keep pumping these games out, and they're still like really good. And you're seeing like this shoot 'em up sequence here, which I actually played through not too long ago, and it's just the kind of surprise gameplay type thing that you'll see throughout the game. There's light puzzle solving like with a lot of Kirby games, but it's all really enjoyable. Yeah, I mean, so far I would highly recommend this. I maybe will do like a review on it later, but for now, excellent game. I gotta say, a really good time I'm having with it. And finally, Pokemon Go. And this is a game I'm not playing near as much as I did when it first released in Canada. And there's a lot to say about this game. I'm probably not going to talk too much because I'm probably well, there's probably a lot of people that are sick of hearing about this game. And I feel like actually its popularity is waning now. It's not. I don't think it's as popular as it was like a few weeks ago. But it was a phenomenon. I mean, everyone was playing this fucking game, and I decided I was going to give it a shot as well. The Pokemon franchise, I'm a pretty big fan. I've played some of the newer games, not all of them. I feel like I like the series less than I did when I was a kid. I mean, I grew up with it. It's a very nostalgic series. Back in like the late '90s, I loved Pokemon Blue and Red. Collected the cards, obviously played the Game Boy games. Uh, what else? I've watched the anime. Like, I was just so into Pokemon. And the original 150 Pokemon are like the only ones I actually still know from top to bottom. So it was cool that the original 150 was in this game. But Pokemon Go, what to say about it? As a game, it's not very good. As a social experience, I think it's incredibly fascinating, and I think the effects it's had on society have been pretty cool to watch. From businesses like kind of mom and pop businesses like that were kind of struggling. You're seeing a lot of them like get a lot of more customers because of this game, and you're seeing a lot of positive. A lot of positive impact on society. People are going out, like people that don't really like going out, like people like me. Like, I'm a very introverted person. I don't really like going out. I have a hard time interacting with people when I'm outside. And this game actually got me going outside and exploring it. It's getting other people like me talking to people. I really like what this game has done in terms of like its social aspects. But as a game, it's just not very good. It's not terribly compelling. You have the collection aspect to it, where you got your Pokeballs that you're kind of throwing at the Pokemon. You can like throw curveballs to get like bonus experience, but it's not a terribly involved like system. And obviously, I'm not going to really describe how the game works because I'm pretty sure everyone knows how it works at this point. But the collecting aspect is the thing I enjoy the most, and that's what I was going for. When I was first playing this game, I was trying to fill the Pokedex. I kind of like that aspect to the game, even though there's not really much to it. But the gym battle stuff, like where the game is actually trying to be a game, is not terribly compelling. Basically, people that are basically leveling up like crazy and live in giant cities where they can get tons of experience. They have all these powerful Pokemon. And they've got these gyms on lock, and if you're not playing with other people, like going around with other people, you're not going to be able to take over gyms. And the battle system is super simplistic. You can kind of swipe your Pokemon to dodge the opponent's attacks, and you're kind of tapping on your Pokemon to attack the other Pokemon. It's very basic. It's not very fun. I don't like the whole gym aspect of this game. I think it needs to be overhauled. Like the battle system needs to be overhauled. Not much fun. Maybe it would be more enjoyable if you had a bunch of friends and you lived in a big city, which I'll get to that. This game is terrible for rural players. It's a giant fuck you to rural players because if you're in a rural area, you're not going to see a lot of Pokemon. You're just not. And you have to really, you're not going to see a lot of Pokestops either, which is the way to get Pokemon or Pokeballs and items to, heal your Pokemon. You really have to live in a big city to make the most out of this game, where you'll be finding Pokestops constantly. You'll be running into other people playing the game. And I live in a rural area right now. I'm actually moving to a city soon, so I'm gonna actually see what Pokemon Go is like in a city like Toronto, which is where I'm moving. But where I am now, it's kind of a waste of time, and to the point where I can't really like collect Pokemon. Because eventually you just see the same shit over and over again, like Rattata, Weedle, Pidgey, over and over and over again. So yeah, I've kind of stopped playing. The tracking has been busted forever, and Niantic, the developer of this game, I think they're getting a little better now. They've got this tracking system that they've implemented in San Francisco that looks pretty cool. But again, it's a giant fuck you to rural players because it will show you what Pokemon are at different Pokestops, and then from there you can kind of track them. But the tracking system now, like it's pretty much garbage. It's not as good as it was in the beginning with like the 3 steps where when a Pokemon was at like 1 step or 0 steps, it was close to you. And now it's just very hard to track Pokemon. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about the game? I mean, again, I like the social aspect of it. I like the collecting aspect, and maybe I'll get into it more when I'm in a city. But by then, people will probably be done with this game. I mean, you're already seeing everyone kind of drop off with this game. But I have seen sales numbers of actual Pokemon games go up, and it's actually got me more interested in Pokemon Sun and Moon. It has gotten me in a little bit more of a Pokemon mood. But yeah, it's one of those things where if the only way I would recommend it is if you're into Pokemon, like the original 150, and you like the collection aspect. Otherwise, I just don't see the appeal. I think people that just have no attachment to Pokemon whatsoever are not going to get a whole lot out of this. A lot of hardcore gamers, the people watching this video, you see a lot of like casual gamers, people that only play games on their phones. Really getting into this, and I can understand why that is, but for me, I don't know, it's okay. The game's okay. I don't hate it, but it's one of those games I just can't see myself playing for very long. I was sort of addicted to it in the first couple days because like it had the novelty factor, and now it just kind of doesn't. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Pokemon Go. Probably talked too long about it, because I'm sure people are sick about hearing about this game at this point. But yeah, and that actually concludes all the games I've been playing. Only 4 games this time. The next game I'm going to play, after I finish Kirby, we do have Days X, Mankind Divided, coming out here on the PS4, PC, and Xbox One soon. I do want to play that. I enjoyed Human Revolution, so I'm looking forward to it. Then September's pretty packed. We have the Final Fantasy delay, so no more Final Fantasy 15 in September, which is a bit of a bummer, but there was a lot of games coming out that month that I want to play. Dragon Quest VII and Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse are the big ones. I kind of want to play XCOM 2 on the consoles as well, because I kind of skipped the PC version of that game, and I would rather play it with a controller, and the PC version doesn't have controller support. And I played the Metroid 2 remake recently. I had a review of that on the channel, and that's got me in a Metroid mood. I want to play like all the Metroid games I haven't played rather. And I want to do a Metroid series review, so I need to play Metroid Fusion again since it's been a long time. Metroid Zero Mission I have to play. I've never played it. I have to play Metroid Prime 3, and then I have to play Metroid Other M, which obviously, that game gets a lot of hate. And I don't think I would like it. I really don't, but I have to play it. I have to subject myself to it to kind of get some experience with it to do a proper Metroid series review. But yeah, I imagine I'll be playing a lot of Metroid in the near future. But what have you guys been playing? Have you played any of the games I talked about here? What games are you looking forward to? Were you well, yeah, basically that's it. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.